The workers at one of South Africa's biggest citrus farms, Zebediela Citrus Estate, have down tools over wage demands. They're demanding a 1,500 increase for contract workers and 15% for full-time workers. They also accuse the CPA of meddling in the day-to-day operations of the citrus estate. For more on this, let's cross live now to our colleague Lutendo Bobodi. Lutendo, what are the workers saying today?
Well, thank you, Desiree. You said it's one of the biggest citrus farms in South Africa, but can you believe that it used to be one of the biggest in the southern hemisphere, used to export fruit all over the world? But of course, there's been a change of ownership through land restitution. They're now being owned by a CPA, and then of course the profit is starting to plummet, but it's still holding its own. It's still employing hundreds of people, still selling fruit, especially to a local market here. But of course, as you said in your intro, there is a strike here, and the bone of contention, as you said, of course, they're demanding salary increment. They want about 1,500 on what they're earning right now, and also about 15% increment on permanent employees, and also the upgrading of the infrastructure here. It used to be state of the art, massive, sprawling, and of course impeccable, but now it's a bit of a shadow of its former self. But as I said, it's holding its own. Operations are still continuing, but of course there's a strike. As you can see, people behind me, there's hundreds of people. You know, it's a lot of them. I think about 400 or 500. And the thing that encourages me is that a lot of employees here are young people, but of course there are issues now, and they want better conditions, they want better salaries. And for that, I'm here joined by, from Food and Allied Workers Union, is Mr. Edwin Mabua, who is a provincial convener here in Limpopo. Edwin, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your patience. Really appreciate it. Just talk to us about your demands here.
Yes, thank you very much. Our demands are salary increases, which is twofold. We've got wages employees, which have demanded 1,500 rand increase. And we've got salary employees who have demanded a percentage of 15% across the board. The third demand is the payment of the Provident Fund / pension fund areas at Sanlam and NBC, which is supposed to be paid by the employer. The other demand is the meddling of the CPA committee with operations, which resulted into the 15% of workers being stolen. Remember, workers used to have 15% ownership of the farm. Now that 15% has been stolen away. The other demand is that we have got managers in the farm, but I can tell you they are not allowed to employ new staff. The same CPA committee comes here and conduct the employment of new staff, which results in that only their relatives will be employed. The other demand is job grading, which we discussed with the employer last year, and then the agreement was that it will be conducted and be finished in 3 months. That did not happen, and then we are more than a year away from that. The last demand, we demanded termination of all contractors in the farm, because the result of having contractors in the farm, our brothers and sisters that have been hired by those contractors are not registered at the Department of Labor. And when they got injured in the farm, they easily get replaced, and that they will be visiting the clinic alone. They cannot claim from the compensation from the Department of Labor. That is, in a nutshell, that. And unfortunately, because of the arrogance of the employer, we did not get any response until we went to the CCMA. At the CCMA, the representative of the employer came, but they could not even respond to one demand. So as a result, the CCMA had no choice and issued out a certificate which allowed us to strike. Okay. Hence, we are here today.
Okay. Of course, we'll speak to the management later on. But I took a stroll with my colleagues around the orchards, and I see that some of the fruit falling off and rotting. It seems like production has been affected. I believe this is harvest time right now. Was that your purpose, just to see production being affected?
Not necessarily that. We have got what we call a recognition agreement with the employer as a union, and it dictates when to start negotiating substantive issues.
Okay.
So this is the period.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is either fortunate or unfortunate that is harvesting time, and which is to our advantage.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Desri. As I said, we took a stroll around the orchards, and I'm told that 80% of the orchards here are now over 30 years. You know, in the long run, production may be affected, and this could spell doom for some of the workers here. You know, the strike itself is relatively peaceful. I'm only seeing one police officer, one van. That tells you that people here are quite peaceful, and they're marching and trying, of course, to put forward their demands to management. Of course, as I said, we're going to try and speak to management a little bit later on, Desri.
Lutendo, I'm glad to hear you'll be speaking to management later on so we can get both sides of the story. Lutendo Bobodi there talking to us about the strike over wage demands taking place at the Zebediela Citrus Estate.